Changing a single habit can transform an entire life. That habit is learning to act within what is under your control. By educating yourself to think about what is controllable and focusing your attention on it, your actions bring results. It may seem like a simple idea, even obvious, but it is easily underestimated or ignored. However, making a decisive move to take the first step and change some harmful behaviors can be the turning point in your life. So how do you learn to think like that and turn it into a habit? The answer can be found in Stoicism, whose goal is to help ordinary people achieve mental tranquility and strengthen themselves to face and overcome challenges. Despite being a philosophy created over 2,000 years ago, Stoicism can help us develop a habit that promises to change everything in our lives. His teachings are clear, simple to understand, easy to digest, and possible to practice, regardless of the situation or challenge we face. The practice of Stoicism offers strategies to focus on what really matters. In this video, we will explore how to think and act within what is truly under our control. If you're new to the channel, help us share this targeting with more people who need it. It's simple. Enjoy this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if something we said made sense to you. Now, let's go to the points that are under your control. Changing what you say is one of them. If you are over 20, you will surely agree that thinking before speaking is something you would like to have learned and applied earlier in life. This could have prevented various confusions, prevented the loss of opportunities, maintained relationships, and alleviated sadness. However, most of us react and think too fast, acting impulsively, especially when our pride is hurt or we feel threatened or hurt. Our first reaction is to counterattack, creating stories in our minds and justifications to get angry or offended. This generates more frustration, and we end up getting carried away by emotions as if it were a strong wave that passes throughout the body, pouring everything out with our words. We talk about what we are feeling, and later, when we calm down, we realize how much the situation could have been different if we had stopped to think calmly. This is because deep down we still have many of our primitive instincts, and our mind responds as if we were in ancient times when survival depended on quick decisions. Today, this speed is less necessary for our survival, but it still continues to influence our behavior. When we let emotion take over and talk without thinking, we lose control over the situation. Epictetus, a philosopher and one of the greatest Stoic masters, reminds us that the only thing that differentiates us from animals is our capacity for reasoning. When we ignore it or waste it, we lower ourselves to their level. The next time you feel your insecurities arising, someone teasing you or something challenging you, Stoicism suggests a different idea. Stop a little before reacting. By giving yourself time to respond, whether it's a minute or 10 minutes, you create the chance to formulate a thoughtful response rather than an immediate reaction to your feelings. Or choose simply not to answer. Often the best answer is silence. No matter how hard you try to think and act focusing on what you can control, occasionally your emotions will take over you because we are human and we are not perfect. If it is still complicated to respond rationally even after a few minutes of reflection, silence can be a real show of strength. This way, you develop your ability to stay calm under pressure. Making a habit of focusing on what you can control starts with learning to think before you speak. Practice mindfulness during conversations. Think before you respond. Start with more quiet conversations first, and then try more serious conversations. Choosing to think before speaking helps us evolve into our best version, showing that true strength comes from controlling our own reactions, not the situations around us. Epictetus shared that philosophy is like a way of life, teaching us that it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you look inside yourself with sincerity, you can understand that how you react is what is really under your control. Stoicism teaches that we can learn to interact with the world in a way that best expresses our natural humanity and our unique personality. Thinking before acting is not about denying our identity or opting only for silence, but about learning to master our emotions and impulses, allowing us to evolve into our most enhanced form. How you act and your level of efficiency in life are under your control and are determined by what you do in your daily life. We can define our actions consciously or not, act on something, or let life take us. Both ways, we're making a choice. Just as when we speak without thinking, we give up our control. The same happens when we act without thinking, yielding to our impulses and emotions. As the philosopher Epictetus teaches us, when we do not make our own choices, we end up living by the choices of others. To change how we act every day, it is important to reflect on the reasons behind our actions. We often act on autopilot, reflecting what we learn, believe, and value. Therefore, to change, we need to understand why we act like this. This means looking within ourselves, not with judgment, but asking questions about our actions and the motives behind them. An illustrative story I've shared in previous videos comes to mind. A woman was preparing a ham for dinner and cut the ends of the meat. Confused, the husband asked why she did it. She replied that this is how her mother did it. Later, during dinner with her mother, they asked why she cut the ends of the shank, and she replied that it was because her mother did so. They decided to call the grandmother, who explained that it was because her form was small. Sometimes our actions are defined by teachings that no longer make sense, but which we somehow preserve in our mental archive. We need to question ourselves to renew this mental file. The first step is essential, as it prepares the ground for a profound change in our behavior. Understanding this clearly puts us on the right track to perform actions that best match who we want to be. The second step is to set clear goals for the change we want. As Seneca said, if you do not know where you want to go, no wind will be favorable. This means that without a clear goal, we don't know what we want and can't define how to act. We often fail not because we lack courage or willpower, but because we cannot clearly define what we want. Your goals should be specific and realistic. For example, decide to cultivate more patience. A well-defined goal would be to count to 10 before responding when something annoys us. Try to do this at least once a day next week. In a month, your mind control over staying calm will have increased. By doing this gradually, you'll create the habit of taking it easy. Having goals makes them easier to make change. The SMART system, which means specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely goals, is a tool that can help us. This method makes the change seem more real and achievable, showing a clear path to follow. Choose to act in a specific way that can measure your progress, is possible to achieve, makes a difference in your life, and is carried out within an established deadline. When we know exactly what to do, we give our brain the stability it needs, saving energy that would be consumed thinking about what we could do. This process changes our level of efficiency and increases our productivity. Putting these changes into practice in everyday life means trying new things and maybe changing some routines. If you want to be more direct, for example, you can start practicing speaking more assertively in simple situations and give less back on the subject. This helps to gain confidence and make this new way of acting a habit. Another example, when you want to control your finances, one strategy is to create a budget and write down all your monthly expenses. This helps you understand how you use your money. Hearing this for the first time may seem petty. Will I have to write down the coffee or cheese bread bought on the street? But imagine that your house is having some water leaks and you only discover this when your water bill goes off. What would you do to find the problem? You would call a technician to find and fix these leaks, right? The principle is the same with finances. If we don't know where and how we spend, we end up using money without thinking. You can use the SMART method to improve your finances. Set a clear goal. Write down your spending to see how it's going and commit to it for 3 months. Controlling the way we act will influence every angle of our lives: moral, financial, physical, social, and spiritual. Sometimes we try to change in specific areas, but we end up losing control in others, as if we can only control ourselves in parts of our life and not in the whole. We want to be morally better, but we do not take care of our body and our health. We try to be more positive, but we lose our finances and spend for nothing. We decide to progress, but every time we give in to some addiction. Learning to act through what we can control is taking full responsibility for all our actions in life. Finally, it's important to always reflect on how we're doing. Celebrate victories and learn from mistakes. Changing behaviors is difficult, not something that happens linearly or increasingly. It will be challenging and we will have setbacks. Facing these moments as a chance to learn helps to move forward and keep trying to improve. When you develop the habit of focusing your thoughts and actions on what you can control, you begin to cultivate a healthy mental perspective, and this enables you to progress in every aspect of your life. As this habit grows stronger in your life, you'll feel less and less irritated, anxious, and less likely to get negative emotions to take root. This way, acting efficiently becomes a habit, just as you interpret and judge what happens to you. All practices, meditations, and actions begin with training our attention to what we can control. Even if we do this automatically, our judgments and how we interpret what happens to us are under our complete control. With social networks, posts, stories, we are trained to judge faster and automatically. I like it. I did not like it. That ugly. It's beautiful. Even with this intensive training in judgment that we have gained in recent times, how we judge and how we interpret what happens to us is under our control. The first principle of practical Stoicism is this: we do not react to events, we react to our judgments about them, and judgments depend on ourselves. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, writes to himself about this: if something external causes you anguish, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment about it, and this you have the power to eliminate now. In the view of Stoicism, our experiences of joy, sadness, desire, and fear follow three stages. Something happens, we form a judgment or opinion about it, and then we react based on this judgment. Our task is to realize that between what happens and how we react, there is our judgment on the situation. Often this judgment may not be logical, and it is possible to learn to control it by thinking more clearly. This means that we have the power to change our reaction because we decide how to interpret what happens around. It all starts with the idea that the way we see the world is formed by what we believe, by our opinions, and what we think about it. In other words, our reactions are based on our judgments, and we have the power to change these judgments. Swiping the phone screen or picking fruit seems automatic, not something we judge, but the Stoics consider it all an illusion. Stoicism teaches us to reflect on our thoughts, helping the mind to understand itself better. This idea becomes clearer when something affects us only mentally. Suppose someone insults you. Insult only matters if you decide it does. If it bothers you, it's because you chose to care about it. Instead, you could simply choose not to care, and the insult loses strength. Events don't force you to think and feel harmed about them. Only you are able to do that. We often think that we are reacting to what happens in the world, but in fact, we are reacting to what happens within us. Sometimes changing ourselves is more efficient and intelligent than trying to change the world. Stoics believe that our judgments about feelings create our experience of them. A Stoic philosopher reminds us that everything depends on our opinion. Ambition, luxury, greed. Everything is based on how we see things. According to him, the unhappiness of a person is directly proportional to how much he believes to be unhappy. For example, physical pain or a flu are real sensations, but how we interpret them and how much they bother us or the meaning they have depends on us. Our feelings of pain or pleasure increase or decrease as we speak to ourselves about them or make profound, often unconscious judgments. Try to remember the last time you got sick with the flu. Aside from the physical nuisance, how much did you say to yourself, "I hate getting sick, what a horrible flu, I don't like feeling this way"? We make judgments so automatically that we often do not even notice, underestimating the impact they have. But Stoics perceive this and encourage us to pay attention to them. Stoics show that we can change how we judge things, and this can transform our way of living much more than we think. The goal of Stoicism is to become aware of these judgments in order to learn how to manage them in the best possible way. The way we interpret life events profoundly shapes how we see the world. Often we do not even realize that this interpretation is influenced by our past beliefs and experiences. This is how some fears and traumas are born, grow, and take over our mind. Recognizing that we have the power to change our perspective is essential for true personal transformation. By challenging ourselves to look at situations in a new light, we can change our inner reality. Knowing that we can change this way of seeing things is the first step to really improving. Each of us has this psychological ability to change and transform this knowledge into habit in our own lives. Your commitment. This video was a lot of work to write because I thought about talking about the same subject, the dichotomy of control, in a different way. So I thought about my own life and how learning to think and act through what I can control has been changing my history, becoming a habit in my life, and being the most transformative. Og Mandino, a renowned American writer who overcame alcoholism by creating positive habits, once said, "Build good habits and become hostage to them." Thinking about it, the last part of our video is dedicated to the commitment that makes all the intention of change become a habit. Your commitment. The commitment you have to yourself, which forces you to come here and watch this video again, to absorb this knowledge and have moral strength every day, to put it into practice. Commitment means commitment. That is, from the moment you say you will do something, you are no longer free to do anything else. All changes, however difficult and time-consuming, are possible, but for this it is necessary that you have a commitment to your own life. May you learn to educate your will and have control over your desires. When we better control what we say, how we act, and how we interpret what happens to us, we have the opportunity to truly change our lives. And when we change our lives, we automatically change the lives of everyone around us. Stoic philosophy uses mental practices combined with a set of values that can guide us towards the best in us. Developing a virtuous life actually leads to an emotional richness, a richness that teaches us to deal with our emotions. Let you now start practicing this new habit today, thinking and acting through what you can control. And if you've come this far, comment on gratitude. This way you confirm your commitment to change. Now, to continue delving into this transformative subject, I recommend that you watch one of the 2 videos that are appearing on the screen. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.